Welcome back. Tomorrow will be exactly a year to the day Hamas militants spectacularly breached Israeli security, killing over 1,000 people and capturing almost 200. Many people have since died and displaced in the resulting conflict. Lebanon has now been affected as well, as Israel went after Hezbollah and its leaders who are operating from there. Thousands of demonstrators demanded a ceasefire in Gaza and Lebanon on Saturday as the conflict in the Palestinian territory approached its one-year anniversary. Demonstrations took place in London yesterday and other cities throughout the globe. There's concern that the dispute might turn into a larger war, given that Israel is launching a ground operation in Lebanon. We look at what's happened 1 year on and how this may potentially carry on, moving on to other countries as well. Joining us now to discuss this further, we're joined by Professor Nader Hashemi, Associate Professor of Middle East and Islamic Politics. Prof, a very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for joining us. And it's exactly a year tomorrow since Hamas launched that, attack on Israel. What are your thoughts as the anniversary nears?
Well, I think October the 7th, 2023 is a monumental, transformative moment, not just for Israelis and Palestinians, not just for the Middle East, but for our entire world. I interpret that event and what's happened since October the 7th of last year as a moment of darkness for our planet, but also a moment of clarity in terms of who really stands for international law, universal values, and human rights, and who does not. Unfortunately, this conflict 1 year later has gone from bad to very worse. The most distinguishing characteristic, after the, grotesque Hamas attack has been Israel's, campaign of genocide against the Palestinians in Gaza. Israel stands plausibly accused of genocide before the International Court of Justice after South Africa brought a very successful application against Israel for violating the UN Genocide Convention. And now the war has spread to Lebanon. And none of this could have happened were it not for steadfast and ongoing, unrelenting support from the Biden administration, who's deeply complicit in the horrors that we've been seeing over the last 1 year.
Prof, there's been calls for peace from some quarters, including South Africa, who even took the case to the International Court of Justice, which found against Israel. But clearly the calls are not loud enough.
Words don't matter, deeds do. The key player here is the United States. Benjamin Netanyahu knows he can do whatever he wants as long as the United States backs him. And the United States backs him almost unconditionally. Just to highlight one moment that underscores the point I made a moment ago about the complicity of the United States in what's happening today. At the end of July, Benjamin Netanyahu came to Washington, D.C., where he gave a talk before a joint session of the U.S. Congress. And he received 61 standing ovations. I repeat, 61 standing ovations in Congress. And this after he was indicted by the International Criminal Court for crimes against humanity and for starvation. And this after he was plausibly accused of committing genocide in Gaza. So, simply asking Israel to stop won't make a difference. Countries have to engage in substantive action, such as stopping the flow of arms to Israel. Yesterday, the president of France suggested that, and Benjamin Netanyahu today, had a panic attack. He had like a child. He launched a very sort of uncontrolled attack against the French president. But the bottom line here is that as long as the United States, both political parties, solidly backs Israel, there's no reason for Israel to compromise, to listen to a ceasefire, or to negotiate in good faith.
And having said that, there's been skirmishes and tit-for-tat attacks between Israel and both Hamas and Hezbollah over the years. But what we're seeing now is something else. I mean, do you think Israel will hold back anytime soon and lay down their arms, considering that they are backed by a very significant player in international politics like the United States?
Yeah, no, there's no incentive for Israel to stop or to change policy. I mean, what Netanyahu is doing helps him domestically in terms of his political support within Israel. It also, I think, helps him accomplish a long-standing goal to try and broaden the war in Gaza to include a war against Iran. This has been Netanyahu's long-standing fantasy. And of course, he can't attack Iran by itself, but he wants to drag the United States in. So I think this is very much part of the plan. to sort of go after Iran to pursue some sort of regime change, because Benjamin Netanyahu naively sort of thinks that his problems with the Palestinians can be located in Tehran. This is sort of an ideological fantasy of which there's very little substance or reason to believe that, but this is very much the goal here. And again, we're on the bridge or the brink of a major Middle Eastern war, largely because of the policies of Benjamin Netanyahu, but also because of the unflinching, steadfast support that Netanyahu has been getting from the Biden administration.
Just in closing, Prof, before I let you go, what are your impressions on how Israel frequently justifies its attacks by saying that they are used by Hamas or even Hezbollah, despite the United Nations disputing many of these accusations?
Israel has a track record of turning the truth inside out and upside down. There's a long history of this. No one should believe sort of the claims that Israel is making. But at the end of the day, Israel has been going after its enemies and its adversaries, right after the state was founded in 1948, has these policies of going after Palestinian leaders and Lebanese leaders made Israel more safe. What has it really produced? Unfortunately, it produced what happened a year ago with this horrific attack on Israeli civilians. So the more Israel continues in this sort of belief that it can maintain its security at the expense of Palestinian security, and by using a very heavy hand against its adversaries, it simply perpetuates a problem. Right now, Israel is viewed in the region that it wants to exist in as not just a colonial settler state, but as a genocidal state. And so its long-term viability is very much in question because of the policies that it's pursuing against the Palestinians and against the Lebanese.
All right, Professor, great chatting to you. Thank you so much for your analysis and for sharing your insights with us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, that was Professor Nader Hashemi, Associate Professor of Middle East and Islamic Politics, speaking to us live via Zoom as a prelude to the one-year anniversary since since Hamas launched that spectacular attack and breached Israeli security, killing 1,000 people.